Hello guys, so today let's talk about haircut plus hair color for dramatic classic body type. If you're new to my channel, I have a huge Kiwi body types playlist. I'm gonna leave the link down below. Before you watch this video, I also recommend you to watch this video where I discuss haircut plus hair color and what they do to each other, how they interact. Because not every haircut looks good with every hair color, which is important to know. Those are just basic rules, and today we're gonna be more specific about this particular type. Now, David Kiwi is being very particular about colors, and he also uses this 12 season system. He always recommends for you to stay within your palette. So if you're muted, you go more for muted colors. If you are more clear, you go for more clear colors. If you're cool, if you're warm, etc. So I'm gonna read you his recommendations for the haircut for dramatic classics now. Hair should be sculpted and sleek, a geometric shape with angular edges. Blunt cuts are best, although some layering is possible depending on the texture of your hair. Hair should be of moderate length to short, with very fine or thin hair being best served by a short, very sleek style. Long hair will need back teasing and setting to retain a sculpted shape. We remember this book was written in the 80s, so back then, back teasing and setting to retain a sculpted shape was a must in some cases. It was very trendy. Nowadays, I think sleeker hair would also look fine, probably would look like that. Likewise, if you perm or wave your hair, you'll have to be willing to set it for a very sculpted, marceled effect. Now, again, in the 80s, they used perm a lot. Nowadays, we don't use perm as much. It looks slightly old-fashioned today and a bit too fluffy. But if we talk about marceled effect, that looks approximately like this. This way of waving the hair became very popular in the 1920s, and this is a hairstyling technique in which hot curling tongs are used to induce a curl into the hair. If you want to go for that stylization, maybe for the evening or for a party, that would be an amazing effect for you. Asymmetric details such as a sweep or dip is excellent. You might not look as good in ornate or lavish hair, wild or fantasy coiffures, cropped boyish hair, overly layered styles, wash and wear styles, symmetrical styles with no angles. In general, avoid perms, waves, and processing. And here his recommendations for color for dramatic classic. In general, you need the rich base from an overall hair color process. This will provide the distinct hair color that must be maintained. If you are seeking to cover gray, never choose a shade lighter than your original hair color. It will be too soft and muted for you and will give you a tired, matronly appearance that is not in keeping with your bold and sophisticated elegance. Now, again, in the 80s, they were covering gray a lot. Nowadays, not that much. Women are embracing their gray hair more and more. So if you are grayed, you might also be willing to try to keep that gray hair. In this case, the haircut and the hairstyle is the most important thing for you. You might not look as good with all processes designed to soften the hair color. Be careful not to over-lighten the hair. Now let's analyze some celebrities and see their haircut plus hair color and what they do to their body. First, let's look at Olivia Munn. Looks like this is her natural hair color, very dark brown or black. It looks actually on a cooler side for me right now. And she's not experimenting a lot. She doesn't go yellow blonde. She doesn't do that boyish haircut. She always has this long hair, very sophisticated, very shiny and good quality. Sometimes she would go for sleek hair on the back, which looks amazing on her. Sometimes she would go for very soft balayage on the ends, but still it looks bright. Her roots are always dark, so it doesn't give the effect of an overall lightening process. So the contrast is still there. Her hair is whether straight or wavy, and I like both. Now let's go to Lizzie Kaplan. Her natural hair color, I think, is medium brown, and her eyes, I think, are blue. I think she's closer to cooler coloration. Maybe she's summer. So here, in my viewpoint, the hair is too brassy yellow. It's too warm for her. But besides that, of course, it's not working good for dramatic classics. They way stronger than that in their bone structure. So when they mute down their natural contrast, it can make them look slightly tired. The hairstyle here is okay, but I just think it's not her vibe. There's such a simple way to do everything so stylish and so elegant without effort. Basically, nature did a lot for her already at the first place. Now let's look at this example. Again, the hair is way too light, too warm, too brassy. Hairstyle is not for dramatic classics again. Her facial features are balanced, but they are more sharp, they are elongated, and the hairstyle is just very strange. It's way too layered for her, too untidy, especially with this hair color, because it's not overall hair color process, it's highlighted. So besides all of that, she has this darker roots and that multi-colorful coloration that makes the look very noisy and makes the hair even more untidy. Here, again, overall lightening effect, way too light for her. Her facial features are kind of separate from everything else. As far as she doesn't have blunt bone structure, she has sharp, balanced bone structure. That hair is just making the whole look very noisy. I understand a lot of it is a color palette, of course, color analysis. But besides that, there are so many other elements that people forget about, like the shapes, the textures. So here, the shape of the hair and the texture of the hair is way too noisy again, way too tousled, not sculpted, not sleek. Like here, for example, we already can see that hair is a little bit more sculpted and it already looks better on her. So I think still the hair is too light for her and a little bit brassy. However, she has this a little bit muted toner on her hair here, which helps. But still, I think it's too light and too tousled on her, just not her vibe. Here she has this black hair, and I think it's way too intense for her, too rich. So she had to do her brows darker, her eye makeup darker, and normally when they look like punks, it looks not elegant on them at all. You might say, but who looks elegant with punk style anyway? You know, there are some body types who can look elegant with a punk style, believe it or not, but definitely not dramatic classics. They are way too balanced for that, so on them that looks too overthought, too much, too noisy, too dirty even sometimes. Here is a little bit better. It's over-layered, which is one thing that is not fitting to her on this particular look. Now, what's good here is the color and the fact that it's a little bit more sculpted. It's not that tousled anymore, not that crazy. I would remove these bangs and layering, and then it would save the look. Just in general, I'm not against short bangs. We always need to see, and in my viewpoint, dramatic classics that are very young actually can look absolutely stunning with short bangs. The older the woman gets, I think the more elegant she looks. So shorter bangs might destroy this elegance slightly, just kind of lead us to a different aesthetic direction. And also it requires some additions in your style and the clothes that you're wearing and the overall vibe of everything that you have on yourself. So I would stay away from that, and if you still need to have bangs, maybe grow them a little bit more to the brows. Then it will look a little bit less childish and more elegant. The rest of the hair, I like the color, but I think the touslness is making it a little bit untidy again. But still, it's better. Here, I love the bob. Now she doesn't have that much layering anymore, and that bluntness of the bob, richness of the color, and that makeup looks already amazing on her. So in this case, this short bangs doesn't spoil the look too much. I would still prefer her with longer bangs or no bangs in this look, but just in general, I like the direction. And you can see how close it is to her nature. She basically doesn't have to do almost anything with herself. Just a little bit of that classic, maybe a little bit bold and sharp makeup, and then keep her natural hair, just make them blunt, keep that color, just comb them, and that's it. She would be ready for a red carpet. So here is that heavy bangs. I still think that dramatic classics look much better and cleaner without the bangs. David Kibi said sculpted hair away from the face, especially when the hair is short. He prefers to comb it up a little bit and put some hairspray on top. But still, I think it's better than her short bangs, and also I like the color. I would just do the makeup not as fresh, which is probably sounding funny. Fresh makeup with rosy cheeks, with shimmer, transparent colors, loads of beiges, neutrals, lighter colors, all that looks great on naturals. On dramatic classics, it makes them look slightly dull, especially as a contrast with these heavy bangs and that geometry of the bangs. We feel like we need a little bit more on the eyes. For example, darker lash line, a little bit paler skin maybe, not as rosy lips, or rosy lips but a little bit more matte. Now here, besides of the touslness of the hair, I love everything else. On the left, I would like her makeup to be just a little bit sharper or just darker lash line, just to support the sharpness of her bone structure, but just in general the fullness of the hair, that natural stunning color, which I think it's quite hard to repeat with artificial hair dye. You know, I've seen women with medium brown hair which is absolutely unrepeatable with any hair dye. When they go outside, it can have some blue undertones with gold undertones. It's so multi-dimensional. Look at her bangs on the right, yeah? So different kinds of light, whether it's artificial light or natural light, can reflect on this hair with so many different tones and undertones. It's absolutely stunning. So don't invalidate your natural hair color if you like it, if it's rich, if it fits you, if you feel like it's beautiful. You don't have to color it. So here on the right, I like even the bangs. I like that it's slightly curled and slightly styled to a side. It always gives it more elegant look. So just in case, if you feel like you cut your bangs too short and you feel like you're not elegant enough, don't be upset. Just try to style it slightly like Audrey Hepburn. Slightly curl it and put it slightly to a side. It will still be not very stiff, kind of effortless, but much more elegant for your face. Also on the right picture, you can see that makeup is much better on her because it's quite sharp for her eyes. When her eyes are intense, she is shining. Here, she has slightly darker roots, slightly lighter ends. I don't know if it's a natural, just sun did it, or she did this balayage. I love the bluntness of her cut. I don't like that she, again, made it too tousled. I think if she just combed it and let it just go sleek, that would be absolutely stunning. Her eye makeup is amazing. Again, I love that she's pale here. Her lips are pale. I love her brows. I love her earrings. I love her outfit. So I just would love to go and comb her hair. That's it. Now, this is one of my favorite looks of her. The hair is maybe a little bit untidy, but still you can see how it's very sculpted. She almost doesn't have any flying hair. So this is a great yes for them. Her bangs is rich, it's geometric, it's almost touching the eyes. Her eyes are popping, she's pale. Her hair is quite long and it's her natural dark brown color, so I love it very much. Here she has this curly hair and I love it absolutely. You can see that it's cut in a very geometric way. I don't know if that's her natural curls, and if it's the natural texture of her hair, then she looks absolutely stunning with this blunt cut. She basically doesn't have to do anything. She just washes her hair and dries it, and she goes. So she can just handle that flying hair on the surface, maybe with some kind of a styling product, just a little bit on the surface to make it more sculpted. I love it here too. Look at that hair color. It's beautiful. How great it plays with her eyes. She has this pale lips again, no blush, no that fresh face, very pale face. Everything here is dramatic classic. It's very sculpted curls. She doesn't have flying or untidy hair. Very good. And this is another one of my favorite looks of her. Her hair is asymmetrical. It has this big wave, which is quite sculpted. It's not a beachy wave. It's just sculpted, styled wave, which is very classic looking, very 50s, and at the same time quite vertical. So the outline of her hair is not rounded, not too soft, not too fluffy. It's quite vertical and it's blunt. So I think she looks absolutely amazing here, especially with this makeup and with this clothes. It's very dramatic classic. Here's another dramatic classic from David Kibit's celebrities list is Linda Gray. She has brown or maybe slightly hazel eyes, dark brown hair, beautiful hair color, light skin. It's possible that she's autumn in color season analysis. And her contrast is quite big, from medium to high contrast, I would say. So you can see here how she looks stunning with this dark hair, beautiful dark brows, quite pale face. Her hair is sculpted and it's styled on the back, which looks great. Here she has this slightly orange hair. I think that was just lightened slightly. It's not bad on her, but with this hairstyle, which is lacking sculpture and sleekness, it's adding too much noise to her balanced beauty. The makeup is stunning. Here is better, but we can see that slightly 2000s coloration, lighter on top, darker on bottom. It doesn't look natural, but still here the overall hair color is brown, so I would not say that it's lightening her too much. I love the makeup and I love the hair. Maybe it's a little bit wispy, maybe a little bit more sculpture would be even better on her, but still it's not thin looking as well. It's quite blunt, so I love it. Here we can see a good example of when she tried to lighten her hair more. So her eyes are just alone. They're very contrasted, very intense. way too intense for that blonde. Also, I think here her hair looks a little bit overlayered. She needs a little bit more visual weight on her hair. Here, similar situation, slightly too overlayered and slightly too overlightened in my viewpoint. But what I like here is the highlights are buttery blonde. It's not very yellowish, it's not very brassy, so I think that helps. Color itself looks more expensive and also more uniform with the colors of her makeup. Here also, I think it's way too blonde and too layered for her. I would make it darker and more blunt. And here is even more blonde and even more layered, and you can see her overall look, how it is making her so pale, so she even overdone her blush. Normally, women don't overdo blush too much. They don't feel like they need to. Just a little bit of blush would be enough. But sometimes, when they feel they're too dull, they add a lot. Now, I love this look on her. I love this red hair. I think maybe she's autumn. This is why this red hair looks great on her. It's quite intense. The hair is quite sculpted. It doesn't look overly layered. The bangs is great. It's quite long. It's slightly on the side. So I think she is absolutely stunning here. And you can see no blush here. Also quite pale face, slightly pale lips, and amazing eye makeup. So she's absolutely radiant here. And here as well, I like this look. To me, a little bit too much blush. Again, she doesn't need that much. She has amazing oval face. She doesn't need to correct anything. And I love the hair color. It's not as red anymore. It's kind of reddish brown. It looks stunning on her. Her eyes are shining. Now, Diana Kruger, I think she's not in official David Kibi celebrities list. I thought before that she was, but then when I found his original list, I didn't find her there. But still, many people online thought that she was dramatic classic and nothing else. I also think she's closest to dramatic classic for me right now. So I'm gonna just show you some examples, because I wanted to show you someone with lighter skin, lighter eyes, and lighter hair, and also someone more in present time. So we would see example of more modern looks. So as you can see, she is naturally quite light. She's probably summer in coloration. She has blue eyes, very light skin, and light hair naturally. Probably it's ashy blonde. In years, she got darker, but still it's not that intense brown color. I would say it's still dark ashy blonde. Now, I love when she goes sleek. It is so stunning, elegant, sophisticated on her, just beautiful. Here, I think her hair is a little bit too warm for her and also a bit too relaxed. I would go for sleeker waves, but I still like it. Here, I like it more because it's more sculpted and her natural hair color looks great on her. Here, in my viewpoint, is a little bit too warm for her. It looks that slightly yellowish brassy hair. On this particular photo, though, I like it because it was made specifically in warm tones. You can see her eyes are green, they're not blue anymore. Her skin is more peachy color, so that kind of a hair with that lighting, with that warm red on her lips, everything is in harmony here. In real life, though, I think that hair would be a little bit too brassy for her. I like this hair on her. I love their eye makeup. Normally, when they do that kind of a eye makeup and the rest of the face is pale and their lips is pale, it normally can balance pretty much any other mistake that she might make in her look. For example, the hair is softened with color, with texture, with style. She has very soft, very tousled waves, but that eye color is bringing everything back. Here, I like it too, but I just don't like the lip color. I think it should be slightly darker. That lip color is not the most flattering for many women, even if they are more on a cooler coloration. I love the hairstyle and hair color here. And here, of course, this very beautiful waves, very sleek and sculpted, and amazing color. I think it suits to her very much. See, if we talk about women with light coloration, dramatic classics, so we are not worried as much about lightening their hair because it's already light. So what they can do, they can just brighten their blonde. And if they do their blonde overall, that would look a little bit more elegant on them rather than highlights. But still, highlights will not spoil the look. Now, if they go too dark, that can actually create that disbalance because they're still classic and they're balanced in their body structure and facial features, so everything artificial will just create that unnecessary noise to their look, and they just don't look as elegant with everything too artificial. That's all. Just wanted to show you one picture of Connie Seleka because I just wanted to show you how great they look with hair in the back with some hair bands. So you can always experiment with that. Now, Felicia Rashad. Let's look at that. So in the 80s, she had something like that. Again, this double fringe, as I call it. So they had this first quite wispy fringe, and then another part of the fringe they would backcomb and kind of set it above it. That created some volume for the hair. And yeah, in the 80s or in the beginning of the 90s, there were many people who were doing this hairstyle. Nowadays, it's not popular. So in terms of dramatic classics, it's not the best shape for them because it's quite shapeless looking. Even though her hair is quite thick, and I like that it's blunt here, I think that undefinite, not sharp shape at the front of her face, above her forehead, it is not dramatic classic enough. I think here she looks much better. Even though it's quite rounded, it's away from the face, it's quite sculpted, and nothing is sticking out, so it looks thick, which is great. Here, I love this look. The hair is sculpted again, it's away from the face, it has slight volume, so it's beautiful. Now here, I love her look so much. First of all, her jewelry is very dramatic classic. Her makeup is very dramatic classic. The length of the hair, I love it too. And I love that it's curly like that and it's quite sculpted looking and it's away from the face. Nothing is covering her forehead. So I think it has very clean outline and it looks great on her. Here she has this asymmetrical bob and I love it in both cases. Devi Kibi doesn't recommend lavish ornate hair on them, but I think this is the case when we can still see that sculpted and slightly sharp look because the cut is still blunt, and also the asymmetric dip is good on them. So I think in this case that looks great. I also love this hair. It's quite full and quite sculpted. It has big curls. Here she has this longer hair and I adore it. Probably this is that hair that Devi Kibi described as long hair for dramatic classics. It has to be sculpted and back combed to have this volume. Again, it gives them more clean look. I also love this look very much, including the costume, the jewelry, the makeup, everything is great here. And here I also love it. And I love that she's slightly covering her ears with this side hair. I think that looks very charming and it's not too much to the sides, so it still doesn't look very untidy here. It's slightly covering the ears, so it's making the hair look a little bit more feminine, a bit more soft. But the hair sculpture is still a little bit vertical, not too rounded, which is great. Now, another dramatic classic that appeared to be not in official David Kibi celebrities list is Zoe Saldana, but I've seen in so many publics in internet that people just put her in this category and nothing else. I think she's closest to dramatic classic, at least dramatic classic lines and hair recommendations and makeup recommendations really work beautifully on her. She can pull all that off, so you can see how beautiful she looks with anything sleek. Plus, this beautiful classic makeup looks just stunning on her. Here is one of my favorites. Look at that beautiful sculpted, slightly relaxed, but still sculpted waves on her hair. And beautiful color looks great on her. I'm a big fan also of different bobs on them, especially this kind of a long bob, which is very blunt and very sleek looking. It's beautiful on her. I love her also with longer hair, whether it's wavy or straight. I love this slightly relaxed, sleek hair on the back and this braid on the side. I think she looks stunning. And I also like this waves because it looks quite relaxed, but still sculpted, not too tousled. Here she has her hair a little bit lightened, and this is the case when I think it's a little bit too light for her, especially with this makeup. If her makeup was a bit more intense, especially in her eyes, maybe some kind of a smoky eye, then this hair color would be actually nice on her. But I think when everything else is lightened, this is when they can lose their definition a little bit. This stunning classic hairstyle is beautiful on her. This 50s short bob. And here, I'm not a big fan of this Audrey Hepburn short bangs because, as I said before, I think short bangs like that doesn't bring elegance to dramatic classics. But what's good here is that she styled it a little bit in a more elegant way. If that was wispy and on all over the place, I think that would just be off. Alright, that's it. I hope that was interesting. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.